Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. My name is Gianna Belcastro and I am your host. Today we're going to be talking about two very important stars in the National Women's Soccer League. And if you know who I'm talking about, that's great. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it's time to get educated. I'm talking about Tobin Heath and Kristen Press, who are just coming off a season with the English team Manchester United, and that's what today's episode is going to be about. Where are they going to play in the NWSL? Are they going to get traded from Louisville? All this and more coming up. But first, I have something personal that I would like to discuss. So today is my grandfather's birthday. And it has been almost 1 year since he passed. And I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday, of course. It's the second birthday that I haven't been able to see him. Last year he was in the hospital, and that's where he later on died. So everyone in the family misses you. I miss you a ton. I wish, I had more time to spend with you, watch me grow, listen to the podcast, watch to see what Bella and I do in our lives, watch what my mom does. So, yeah, obviously, it's such a hard thing to deal with, but my family has been, we go through it together. And so it's just, I'm glad that all of us have stuck together through this really hard time in our lives where we lost someone extremely close to all of us. And we all dealt with our grief in different ways. In the beginning of season 2, I talked a lot about it. So if you want to listen to that episode, my first episode of season 2, I kind of dive into that. I have a few episodes on the pod, about this whole thing. So if you really care about that stuff. But yeah, happy birthday. And I miss you. And I love you. I hope you're watching down on all of us, making sure we're doing all right. Yeah. That's that. And then also I want to dive into what's coming up for the pod. I have some guests lined up. Next week I will have a guest on. And the next 2 weeks will be guests. So this coming week and then that next week. I'm having 2 journalists on the pod, which is cool because that's the stuff that I will be studying in school, journalism. Super fun times, just really working on trying to dive in to the sports journalism world and trying to make as many connections as possible. So I can't wait to have these people on the pod. I'm not going to say who it is yet. So I've got to schedule one of them. Having a Zoom conversation with someone on Thursday. So this is going to be really, really fun. So I'm really excited for that. Let's start talking about Tobin Heath and Kristen Press. Now, if you're a National Women's Soccer League follower, you probably know this whole deal about Tobin Heath and Kristen Press. Even if you follow the U.S. Women's National Team, I know that some people only watch the NWSL or some people only watch the U.S. Women's National Team. If you don't know anything about this, and if you're interested in learning about it, this is the episode for you. Right now, the Olympics are taking place, and the U.S. Women's National Team has a 1-1 record as of right now. The Australia-United States game is being played at 3 a.m. Central Time here in Illinois. So I will not be staying up to watch that, and I have no idea what the results are going to be for that game. Both Press and Heath are on the U.S. Women's National Team. Both have started games within the Olympics. The U.S. lost to Sweden, I believe 3-0, and then the U.S. beat New Zealand 6-1. 2 own goals were scored during that time, and saw a nice goal from Rose Lavelle and I believe Chris and Press. Lindsay Horan, I think, scored. I wonder if Carly Lloyd scored. I forgot. Not important. Anyway, they're playing Australia. Hopefully by the time I wake up tomorrow, I will be happy. As much as I love the Australian women's national team, I really don't like, this matchup because it's either, the U.S. win the game and they move on to the knockout rounds, or if they lose, they will be third in the group and will not advance to the bracket play. So it's a really tough situation, and obviously I'm rooting for the U.S., but if Australia wasn't in this group, I would be rooting for, Sam Kerr and all those wonderful athletes on that team. I even own an Australia jersey because I really love the colors and the logo. But enough about that. That's not what today's episode is about. But just to get everyone caught up on Olympic stuff if you haven't been following for women's soccer. So, where to begin? Let's go back to the expansion draft that happened for Louisville. So, Racing Louisville FC is an expansion team in Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm just going to look up the draft really quick so I can talk about, what happened with that. So, let me tell you about the expansion draft and how that works. There's a wiki thing about it. I'm going to read off that. Okay, so you have to give 2 lists of players from all the teams that are already playing in the league. So, Houston, North Carolina, Orlando, Portland, the OL Reign, Sky Blue FC, Utah Royals, and Washington had to all give a list of protected players and non-protected players. And each team had a limit of 2 United States Federation players. And a Federation player simply means that these are people that play for the United States Soccer Federation, which also means the U.S. Women's National Team, or their national teams, like U20s, whatever. I think it's just for the senior team. So you can only protect 2 of those players, and then with that is 9 other players on your team. So you can only protect 11 people with a limit of 2 United States Federation players. And Racing Louisville FC could select a maximum of 2 players or 1 United States Federation player per team. And they could only select a maximum of 2 United States Federation players in total. All players currently under contract, on loan, or whose NWSL rights are held by an NWSL team, an example would be draft picks, waiver claims, and retired players, were eligible for selection unless included on the protected list. Only unsigned players who are on an NWSL team's discovery list were exempt. And so there was this whole timeline, trade/waiver window, end of season stuff, protected lists, unprotected lists, and then the draft. And then the day after the draft, the trade window opened. So, let's see here. There's, on this Wikipedia page, it shows you all the different protected and unprotected players for each team. But, this did not matter for the that's the basketball team, the Chicago Red Stars. It's 11 o'clock when I'm recording this. I'm a little tired. So, the Chicago Red Stars received full roster protection, after they made a trade with Louisville FC. So, they traded Yuki Nagasato and Savannah McCaskill to Louisville so that they didn't have to give up any of their players on their team. Chicago is filled with talent, and I was super upset when this happened, when they traded McCaskill and Nagasago, because I'm huge fans of them. They're such great players, and they look like they're great teammates to be around. So it was super upsetting to watch, but I knew that Chicago didn't have to submit a list for the draft. So that was a good move by them in the end. A lot of younger players were drafted by Louisville in this expansion draft. There was a lot of surprises, including the pickup of 4 international players, I believe, between the U.S. Well, actually, no, there's 5 people that play on international teams, I believe. 1 for Ghana, 2 for Australia, and 2 for the United States. So here's where it gets a little tricky, everybody. You get 14 picks in the draft to create a team. And their first pick was Addison Merrick from North Carolina. She plays defense. Next was Julia Ashley from the OL Reign, also defense. Next was Jennifer Cujo from Sky Blue FC, which is now Gotham FC. And I'll be referring to it as Gotham for the rest of this recording. Who plays middle field, but was actually traded back to Gotham afterwards. I guess in terms of Gotham's protected list and unprotected list, I understand why they put her on unprotected. Wow, they didn't even protect Carly Lloyd. I forgot about that. That's funny. But, yeah, that's crazy. Going back to the top. After that was Cece Kaiser, who's been doing well for Louisville. She came from Houston and is a midfielder. Katie Lund from Washington Spirit, goalkeeper. Alana Kennedy from the Orlando Pride, plays defense. Lauren Millay from North Carolina, midfielder. Kaylee Ryle from Gotham, who plays defense. Caitlin Ford, also from Orlando, who is a forward. Katie McClure from Washington, forward. Erin Simon, Houston Dash, defense. Michelle Betos, OL Reign, who's a goalkeeper, who is their starting goalkeeper. And then we have Tobin Heath from Portland, who's a forward, and Kristen Press from Utah, who is also a forward. Louisville was really, really trying to show everyone how, I don't even know what the word is. I'm going to say stupid. They were pretty stupid. Alana Kennedy and Caitlin Ford are playing internationally. They're in England. I believe Alana Kennedy is playing for Spurs, and Caitlin Ford is playing for Everton or Arsenal. I'm just going to look it up because I don't want to be wrong. I don't know how to spell this person's name. It's not what I wanted to look up. Caitlin Ford plays for Arsenal. And then Alana Kennedy plays for Tottenham Hotspur. Alright, yeah, Spurs. Spurs and Arsenal. So Louisville's picks for these 2 Australian athletes was bizarre. And I was confused because I already knew that they were signed to play overseas. Because of COVID restrictions and everything, I guess would be a lot safer in England compared to the United States, especially during that time where COVID was just absolutely crazy. It still is now, but it was really bad during that time. And that's why that happened. I was really surprised also with OL Reign with giving up all their goalkeepers, but it made sense later, especially with how their team is right now. But I'm not going to get into that. It's not really important. And then the picks of Tobin, Heath, and Kristen Press, which is what today's episode is about. Just trying to explain everything here. Hopefully it makes sense. And you can let me know if it doesn't. I can explain it more in depth for people. Trying to explain it as much as possible here for everyone to understand. So, everyone was shocked when Heath and Press were picked up. My initial reaction was, Heath and Press probably do not want to live in Louisville and play for Louisville. It just doesn't seem like their kind of environment. Heath and Press were insanely popular within their two different teams. Press was popular with the Red Stars and the Royals. Just everyone loved them on their teams. They were doing well for their teams. And then COVID happened. I don't believe they played during the bubble in Utah. And then they kind of fell off the face of the earth a little bit in terms of playing soccer. So when that happened, I was shocked that they got picked by Louisville. And everyone else within the soccer community was very, very confused. And I understand why. It doesn't make any sense. But they did that, and so a little bit after that, they announced that they were going to play for Manchester United. They both moved to Manchester to play there and for their season. I think this is an article that's going to help me explain this. Let me see here. They missed an opportunity to get cash instead. That's funny. Louisville is kind of stupid. I'm sorry for the pause. So anyway, they go play for Manchester United. It was announced recently that they would be leaving. And there's a bunch of stuff happening at Manchester United, which would take a whole nother episode to go into depth to. Basically like neglect and abuse kind of thing for the players. A lot of the players are leaving Manchester United, like Lauren James, who's going back to her childhood club of Chelsea, where her brother plays. Anyway, moving on from that, there's just been a lot of drama within Manchester United. In fact, head coach Casey Stoney stepping down. And, of course, this happened a few weeks ago, or maybe, like, a week ago. Casey Stoney was recently hired by the newest expansion team within the NWSL, San Diego. San Diego and Angel City FC, which is based in Los Angeles, California, are going to be the two new expansion teams for the 2022 season, in which they will have their own expansion drafts, which is the whole point of today's episode. It took 19 minutes to explain what I'm going to be talking about today, because it's just so much if you don't know what's happening within this. And I just wanted to talk about it, because I think it's just such an interesting topic. Where are Tobin, Heath, and Kristen Press going to play? Everyone wants to know. I want to know. My cousin wants to know. Women's soccer fans want to know. It's crazy. People are really confused. What are they going to do? People are saying stuff. We don't know if it's true or not. We're just going to have to wait and see until the expansion draft, really. Really recently, head coach Christy Holly of Racing Louisville FC was talking about this, and he said that They were in open communication with press and Heath about coming to play for the team. I don't really believe that, though, because I don't think they're going to play in Louisville. They seem like such a great fit for San Diego, who is coached, again, by Casey Stoney, their coach back at Manchester United, and Jill Ellis is the president of the club. She was the U.S. Women's National Team coach for a while, won the World Cup with them in 2019. That was their last major tournament with them. Of course, now we have Vlatko Anivnoski, the former OL Reign coach turned head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team, and who also suffered his first loss with the team with that loss to Sweden in the beginning of that group stage for the U.S. Got a lot of different writers saying a lot of different things, but Louisville has been declining trades, I believe, for Angel City FC. Angel City FC wants these two players. We've known that for a while. Everyone, after the draft was over, was saying that Angel City is going to trade for them, or maybe hope that Louisville will put them in their unprotected list so they could come to LA. I'm not so sure about this anymore. There's been so much drama with Angel City as well, like David Dobrik being an owner and then not being an owner anymore because of his wild stuff, how the team was bought by a lot of, millionaires and celebrities and people like that, but aren't really doing much for, I guess the community. There's a whole thing about that too. It's just a lot of drama within that Angel City club, and I'm not so sure. I don't want to speak out of hand, of course, or out of turn, whatever the expression is. It's 11 o'clock. I don't really care anymore. But I just think San Diego would be such a great fit for them. They have a coach that they just had within the past year. It's a great market in terms of, San Diego already has a football club in the USL, and there's a baseball team there. So the sports market is set up and growing, and the Chargers are there as well. Forget about the NFL sometimes. Sometimes I wish fake football didn't exist, but, we are in America, so you can't change anything about that. I'm not a football fan, but I am a football fan, if the football we're talking about is soccer. Anyway, moving on. San Diego is setting themselves up for success, while it seems like Angel City is doing the exact opposite. And there's this whole thing within the two football teams about hiring more women to coach in the NWSL. I believe it was San Diego who came under fire when they said they were looking at the assistant coach of North Carolina, when people found out that they were looking at a white male coach to make the head coach of San Diego. And San Diego released a statement, or I can't remember if this is Angel City or San Diego. They released a statement saying that, they're still exploring their options and they haven't made a decision yet. And that goes to show that people care about representation within sports. I love that. I think it's so damn cool that, we want to see all different kinds of people succeed. I'm not saying just because you're a white guy that you don't know anything about soccer. I'm just saying maybe if you had a former professional soccer player that happened to be a woman or non-binary that was playing in the NWSL at one point, or maybe played for the U.S. Women's National Team at one point, or just had any soccer experience wherever, you would be a good fit for that kind of team in San Diego or Angel City. The lack of representation is showing in women's sports. You got a lot of old white guys coaching. And again, nothing against them. But I'm just saying, this is not, no one is playing the race game or the gender game or card, whatever. Like, we just want to see more representation. We know that there's people out there that are qualified and skilled enough to be a coach for these different teams. It's just the matter of finding them and hiring them. We don't want the same old people that are there. I don't mean old people like age-wise. I mean people that have been doing it for a while. We know that they're good, but we also know there's other people that you're not looking at, that you should consider looking at, because maybe they're better than this one person already. I don't know. rambling is fun. I'm out of breath. Anyway, that is kind of the whole Tobin Heath and Kristen Press deal. I hope this makes sense, and if it doesn't, I'm super sorry. There's a bunch of stories out about this. I'm sure The Athletic has written about it. Sports Illustrated, ESPNW, Just Women's Sports possibly, I'm not sure. But that is what I wanted to talk about today, because I just think it's so interesting, where are they going to play? If you have an idea of where these two awesome, talented, powerful women are going to be playing in the 2022 NWSL season, tweet me at WSM Podcast, that's right, drop in where I am on social media. On Facebook, you can also follow me at WSM Podcast, and on Instagram, you can follow me at Women's Sports Matter, that's right. Also, I'm going to bring this up really quick at the end of this episode, because I try my best not to be petty. And I try my best to, think about other people within the podcasting industry, and it's really tough because I'm super annoyed. When you're looking up me on social media, just would like to remind you that I have a blue logo. It is Women's Sports Matter. And, my logo has the soccer ball and basketball and the microphone. And it says Women's Sports Matter, podcast with Gianna Belcastro. That is me. There's a podcast with a very, 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 very similar name to mine. That's not me. And I hate that the person ripped off my podcast name. I really do. I wish it wasn't a thing. I know my name isn't that creative, but a quick Google search will tell you if the name is taken, and this one wasn't, to my knowledge. And if it is taken, then I will change my show's name. It would not be a problem for me. I would do it so quickly. I'd be so embarrassed. But someone is ripping off the name of my show. They took my name, and they added the word podcast after. This is the Women's Sports Matter podcast. With a lowercase p. This show is called Women's Sports Matter. But the show I'm talking about is called the Women's Sports Matter Podcast, without the. I'm just saying the because articles are important sometimes. And it makes me super upset. I wish, I don't want to reach out to this person. I don't want to make it a big thing. They don't have that many episodes out. But I did make this podcast first, and I named it that, a year ago, and this person decided they wanted to make theirs in December. If you are going to make a podcast, do your research first to see if there's names out there that are taken. You don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person. So that's just a little FYI. Someone took the name of my show, basically. And, it's me with the blue logos. The blue logo is me. I made that, by the way, on Pictochart. Super easy. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I love making my own logos. It's super fun, and I suggest if you have your own little podcast, company, whatever, try making your own logo. It may seem like a hassle at first, but it's a joy, and such a fun time to feel proud about something that you make. And, playing around with colors, too. I love the blue that I picked for the show. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, my logo's on the screen, so you can take a nice little look-see at it wherever you're listening. Speaking of wherever you're listening, oh my god, I'm on so many different platforms. So if you're using a platform right now and you're thinking, I don't know if I like the one that I'm using, where should I listen to you on? That's a great question. Here's where you can listen to my podcast. I'm on Amazon Music, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Ghana, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. And there's more platforms coming soon. I'm working on Pandora, iHeartRadio, a bunch of other places. So, these are the places that you can listen to me. And if you're not liking where you listen in, try something else. I'm also trying to get my YouTube channel started up again. It's basically where I'm posting episodes too. But like, if you want to listen there, or, Spotify, I don't really care. If you want to see like the actual videos of me interviewing people, I may put those up there. There's already some that are like that on YouTube, so if you want to see the actual interview that I do with people, that would be the place to check that out, because I don't post that anywhere else. Maybe like a little snippet on Instagram, but that's really it for me. Hey, we are still in a pandemic, which means, people are dying. People are getting sick. This Delta variant is kicking our ass. Yep, I said it. Kicking our ass. You want to stay protected from this virus and its variants? Get vaccinated. Link down below, right before the register to vote link, is a find a vaccine near you. It's www.vaccines.gov/search. You can find the nearest vaccination site to you. I don't know if you're like in farmland, that might be a little tough. Could be half an hour out. Could be 5 minutes from your house. Could be literally anywhere. All it does is you put your zip code in and press the search button. It takes 2 seconds. You can find the COVID vaccine for you. Depending on your gender and your age, you might want to be a little picky in terms of what you should get. Like, for example, I would be someone that would not be taking Johnson & Johnson, especially with its effect on women and, people my age. I think it's more for people that are older than 50. But if you're a guy, go ahead and take Johnson & Johnson. It's safe for you. Just do your research on what vaccine you think would help you the most. And, protect other people around you. It's super simple. And I know it's a hassle, trying to go get it, but seriously, all it does takes 2 seconds to find the nearest vaccination site near you. We're not close to herd immunity yet, and that's not going to happen unless more people get vaccinated. It's safe and it's free. So please, 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 I'm begging of you, if you live in the United States, use this link. Find a vaccine near you. If you want to reach out to the podcast, hey, guess what? You can. You can reach out to me, womensportsmatterpodcast@gmail.com, and that's also linked in the podcast description down below. There's also different links like registering to vote and find your legislator linked down below as well. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. I'm your host, Gianna Belcastro, and I'm signing off at 11:30 p.m. It's time for me to go to bed, quite frankly, but I did have a blast recording about two of my favorite U.S. Women's National Team players. It was really sad to see them play at Manchester United, though, because I am a Chelsea fan, and I hate Manchester United, but, good for them. They didn't really do much there, though. Taupe and Heath got injured there. That was Manchester United's fault. But who cares? She's healthy. She's doing good in the Olympics right now, so there's that. Anyway, I'm going to go to sleep. Good morning to you. Oh my god. Good morning to those of you who are listening at the regular scheduled time of 10 a.m. when this is released. I hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode. Rate my podcast on Apple Podcasts. Follow me on my socials. I'm going to go to bed. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Whenever this is that you're listening to this. I'm going to go. Hopefully U.S. wins their game against Australia. Can't wait to see that score when I wake up. But nevertheless, I'm going to leave. So thank you again so much for listening. And that's all, folks. See you next time. Bye.